Right after 2023, it's the 2024 election. And this week, President Joe Biden made it official, announcing that he is indeed running for re-election.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are.
That's the video the Biden-Harris campaign released Tuesday morning. That same day, I spoke one-on-one with Transportation Secretary and former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who said this about a potential second term. If he is reelected, do you hope to serve another term as Secretary of Transportation?
Well, right now I got my head down seeking to deliver on all of the historic opportunities that are in front of us. It's demanding work, but it's rewarding work. I'm very glad to be doing it. And, the future is, we'll find out what's next. But right now, we got a lot to be proud of and a lot more to do.
All right. I also spoke with the Transportation Secretary about some of the criticism that he's faced over the Ohio train derailment and his concerns about the new budget proposal from House Republicans. You've had a lot to say this week about the budget proposal from House Republicans and what that would mean for rail safety in the wake of that train derailment in Ohio and other situations like that. How would this proposed budget impact those safety measures here in the Midwest and elsewhere?
Well, this is no time to be cutting railroad safety inspections, but that's exactly what this GOP budget proposal would do. They've proposed sweeping across the board cuts to discretionary spending, and that would certainly hit us hard in transportation. It would mean less inspection of railroads, which is a very important part of how we prevent there from being more accidents and derailments, including things like what happened to the community of East Palestine. And it would also frustrate and interrupt our efforts to improve and modernize air traffic control related systems. Earlier this year, that was just one system, and a 90-minute ground stop wreaked havoc on the national airspace. And we're working hard to modernize that, but that would be delayed by these budget cuts. It would also mean that we wouldn't be able to accelerate our process to get more air traffic controllers hired and on board. If you don't have enough air traffic controllers, that means more cancellations and delays potentially. So in my view, this is the exact wrong direction to be moving in. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. I think Democrats and Republicans alike should be able to agree that we need to get tougher, not weaker, when it comes to safety on our railroads, and we need to be doing more, not less, when it comes to air traffic control.
So as you said there, it does go beyond just railroad safety, but you did face a lot of criticism from Republicans after that derailment in Ohio. They even launched a probe into the department's response, which they called painfully slow, in their words. Do you regret the way your department responded, and how do we move past the politics of all of this to keep people safe in the future?
Well, I don't think this should be about politics. And to be clear, our department was responding on the ground within hours, even though in the aftermath of a crash like that, most of the investigation is led by NTSB, which is separate from our department. And of course, the EPA, the very same EPA that the last administration sought to largely gut. It's really the EPA that has had the power to hold Norfolk Southern accountable and to force Norfolk Southern to pay for the cleanup in that site. But let me say this, any politician who wanted to get on TV and talk about East Palestine now has a chance to demonstrate whether they are serious. Will they join us in supporting legislation that is going to get tougher on these railroads or not? From day one, when we came in, our administration increased safety audits. We resumed rulemaking and regulation work to make sure that these railroads were held accountable. And in doing so, we faced a lot of pushback from a railroad industry that is very powerful here in Washington. I think after East Palestine, a lot of Americans who didn't realize just how often these derailments happened have really had their eyes open. And that's why we have bipartisan legislation in the Senate right now that would do things like accelerate the adoption of stronger tank cars, meeting our DOT 117 standard means they would be less likely to leak or be damaged in a crash. It would allow us to impose tougher fines on companies that violate safety standards. All of those things could be done right now by Congress. We've been calling for them for a long time. There are Democrats and some Republicans supporting this legislation. And if you really want to show that this isn't about politics, this is about safety, there's a great chance for these elected officials to prove it by supporting this legislation and supporting this reform.
Could be an uphill climb, though, for that Senate bill to pass in the House, just as it's very unlikely that the Senate would take up the House budget plan. Is there a middle ground for compromise here on some of these budgetary items when it comes to railway safety?
Well, look, there's always a negotiation over the budget, but I think this really needs to be a bipartisan effort.
All right, our interview there with Pete Buttigieg. Also this week, Mike Pence speaking about the budget battle in Washington as he sat down one-on-one with our partners at The Hill for the debut of their new nightly broadcast on News Nation.
So I think at a time when our national debt is the size of our nation's economy, Speaker McCarthy is right to say we're going to make a down payment on fiscal responsibility again, and I hope that Republicans rally around that cause and give him the kind of united support necessary to demand that Joe Biden and the Senate Democrats come to the table. We as Republicans would look forward to taking on the record of the Biden administration.
Meantime, Thursday, Pence testified before the federal grand jury investigating efforts by former President Trump to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Trump had appealed to try and prevent Pence from being able to testify. A judge blocked that effort, clearing the way for Pence's testimony. He spent more than 7 hours before the grand jury on Thursday. Coming up next on this week's edition of In Focus, big raises for Indiana's elected officials. It was part of that budget plan at the last minute, but then some backlash. We'll talk about it with our panel up next.